Yo, YouTube, what's up with your boy? Sports and Fitness Rants. I'm back, guys. Click that like button. Subscribe to my channel. What's up, y'all? Welcome back, guys. Welcome back, man. Got another great video for you guys today. As usual, you guys know the deal on this channel. It's all about setting the record straight, stopping the lies, stopping the narratives, stopping them from rewriting history, guys. And in this video, I want to talk about the New York Knicks, man. I told you I wasn't going to do a video on the New York Knicks, but I was watching news this morning, and I saw the New York Knicks fans going crazy, celebrating all out of control as if the Knicks won the championship, man. Listen, I get it. The Knicks have been bad for a long time, guys. They've been mediocre for a long time. But my goodness, the New York Knicks fans going crazy, celebrating a win over the number 6 seeded Pistons. The Knicks are the 3 seed. They're supposed to win this series. And the Knicks, to me, are one of the most inconsistent teams. They're up and down, up and down. They play down to the competition. They do this. I mean, just look at this series. The Knicks giving up leads left and right. They should have probably swept the Pistons out of here if you really look at the games. But the Knicks are inconsistent, guys. I'm not a believer in the Knicks, and I feel like the New York Knicks fans, once again, you're celebrating mediocrity here, guys. The New York Knicks haven't been to an Eastern Conference in over 25 seasons. An Eastern Conference Finals, excuse me. We're going to talk about this video, man, because I really want to talk about the New York Knicks in this series against Detroit. Like I said, to me, the Knicks were squandering a lot of these games, man. I just don't see why the New York Knicks fans are going crazy, acting like the Knicks are going to do something. Knicks ain't going to do nothing, guys. Let's be real, man. We're going to talk about this video. And I want to thank you guys, everyone across the world, everyone across the states has been supporting my channel. Once again, guys, I am truly, truly humbled by all the support, man. It really means a lot, guys. Much respect to all you guys, the true fans that stand up, man. Shout out to everybody in the membership. Like I said, guys, it's truly humbling. And you guys know what to do. Turn the volume all the way up. Hit that play button. Remember, these videos are for educational purposes. And let's roll. So, yes, guys, like I said, man, I wanted to do a video talking not just really about the New York Knicks, but mostly about the New York Knicks fans here, man, because the New York Knicks fans were going crazy yesterday in the streets. And, you know, after the Knicks beat the Detroit Pistons in Game 6, you know, New York Knicks fans, you know, they're delusional. They're really not living in reality, man, because I don't know what we're celebrating. And like I said, I get it. The Knicks haven't been good, you know, haven't been great in a long time. To me, the Knicks haven't been great since the 90s. They haven't been good, you know, consistently, I guess, since the 90s to me, guys. I mean, you could say that maybe they were good when Carmelo Anthony was there, but I don't even believe the Knicks were, like, to me, the last true legit shot the Knicks had to win a championship was a long time ago, guys, way before Carmelo Anthony. I do not believe the Carmelo Anthony Knicks ever had a legit shot at winning a championship. Even if LeBron James wasn't on his super team Miami Heat, the New York Knicks were not going to be able to get past the Indiana Pacers with Roy Hibbert and Paul George. I mean, they just weren't a formidable team. They weren't not legit contenders. To me, Carmelo Anthony was an overrated player, overhyped, over-celebrated on the Knicks. You have a lot of Knicks fans out here that, oh, Carmelo Anthony, the last great Knick. No, he wasn't, man. Patrick Ewing was the last great Knick player, guys. That was the last true Knick legend, Patrick Ewing, guys. That's the facts, all right? Carmelo Anthony was not a New York Knick legend. He did nothing in New York. The Knicks were not good or formidable when he was there. They just weren't, man. And we could blame whatever the reasons are, man. They just were not. So to me, the 90s Knicks is the last true, legit New York Knicks team. And I believe from about, what was that, 1988 to like 2000 and something, the Knicks went to the playoffs like 14 straight seasons, guys. That was the Knicks. That was their best stretch since they've been a franchise. Remember, the New York Knicks are one of the original franchises, guys. The original from 1947, right, when it was the BAA. The New York Knicks have been in part of basketball since the beginning, guys. So they've been around, I believe, 79 seasons now, the Knicks. And like I said, the Knicks haven't won a championship since 1973. So when we think about this, guys, that's a long time ago, man. A long, long time ago. And the Knicks were a very formidable team in the late 60s and the early 70s. You know, they had a lot of great players. You had legit legends, right? You had guys like Walt Clyde Frazier, who you can argue is the greatest New York Knick of all time. You had Willis Reed, who you can argue the greatest New York Knick of all time. Dave DeBusschere, who was my mother's favorite player growing up. Bill Bradley, Jerry Lucas, right? Earl the Pearl Monroe. These are all legit Hall of Famers. And when you talk about Walt Clyde Frazier and Willis Reed, like I said, you could argue they're the greatest New York Knicks of all time. Walt Clyde Frazier, one of the great two-way point guards in NBA's history, a lockdown defender, could do multiple things. Walt Clyde Frazier, man. Like I said, Willis Reed, the captain, coming out the tunnel limping, right? Inspiring the team, right? Inspiring the New York Knicks crowd, right? The Knicks were really good in the 70s, man. And like I said, that's the last time that they won a championship was in the 70s, guys. Most of those New York Knicks fans that were out there carrying on, going crazy, jumping up and down like a bunch of idiots, they weren't around for the 70s. I wasn't around for the 70s. They weren't around for the 90s. I know that. They would not. Like I said, look like a lot of young people out there celebrating. I don't know what you're celebrating, guys. The New York Knicks have gone to the second round now for their third year in a row. Remember, last year was the first time in years that the Knicks had made back-to-back second-round appearances. And what happened last year, guys? They had all these injuries, right? And they ended up losing to the Pacers. And to me, that was a upset, a failure of a season. The Knicks should have been the Eastern Conference Finals. Remember, I did a video on that. I said, can the Knicks go to the Eastern Conference Finals? They have a legit shot. The year before that, I thought they had a legit shot to go to the Eastern Conference Finals, but they lost to the Miami Heat, the playing Miami Heat, who ended up going to the finals that year. And I watched that entire series, guys. The Knicks blew it. They blew that series. Brunson couldn't do nothing. No one else was doing anything. They couldn't play any consistent defense. They were getting beat by guys like Gabe Vincent. So the New York Knicks, to me, I'm not impressed. And this is not me hating on the Knicks or tearing down the Knicks. I'm questioning the New York Knicks fans. And really, what are you guys celebrating so much for? Like I said, I get it, man. The New York Knicks haven't been great or good in a while, but this is the third year the Knicks have been in the playoffs. This is the third year the Knicks have gone to the second round. All right? So this is progress for the Knicks, but they're celebrating as if they're in the Eastern Conference Finals or the NBA Finals. I'm not with that. The Knicks, to me, are not impressive. I want you guys to think about this series, guys. They beat the number 6 seed Detroit Pistons. They should have swept these guys. To me, in my opinion, when you look at some of these games, they should have swept the Pistons out of it. Maybe they should have lost one game. Maybe. They shouldn't have won 6 games. Not even close. And the New York Knicks lost home games. They lost 2 games at home already in the first round to the 6th seed. But I'm supposed to believe you're a formidable team. You have a legit chance. And that's why I told you I was not going to do any videos on the Knicks this season. I didn't do a single video on the Knicks this season. On purpose. I do not believe in them. They're inconsistent all year. People are like, oh, the Knicks won 51 games. How are they inconsistent? The Eastern Conference is weak. Are we really sitting to believe that the Knicks are playing in some 90s East? No, they're not. They're playing in a weak East. You had 2 really good teams in the Eastern Conference. The Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Everyone else mediocre. Milwaukee Bucks mediocre. Orlando Magic mediocre. Detroit Pistons mediocre. The New York Knicks are mediocre, man. These are mediocre teams. Maybe they're good. They're not great. They're not formidable. They're not contenders. They're not doing anything. The Knicks weren't top 10 in anything this season. They weren't top 10 defense or a top 10 offense. They were not. When I watched the Knicks in the 90s, for 4 years, I believe it was, I think it was 92, or excuse me, 3 years in a row, I believe. 93, 94, 95, the Knicks were the number 1 defense in the NBA. For 3 consecutive seasons. And for like 7 or 8 years, they were a top 5 defense. Consecutively. The Knicks haven't been like that in a long time. Now, we know defense is not like the way it used to be. But this is what the Knicks used to hang their hat on. Blue-collar work, grinding out, playing defense, being physical and tough. That was the New York Knicks, man. Especially in the 90s. That was the New York Knicks I remember growing up watching. Right? And that's when they were formidable. That's when they were legit contenders. Knicks haven't been legit contenders since then. They haven't been to a final since an Eastern Conference Finals since 2000. 25 years ago. That's what I said. A lot of these Knicks fans weren't even alive for that. They don't even remember that. They haven't been to an NBA final since 1999. 1999, guys. It's a long time ago. So let's think about this series against the Detroit Pistons. Like I told you, playing down to your competition. And remember, the New York Knicks, guys, used to be a very formidable home team. MSG used to be a legit home court advantage. Not so much anymore. The Knicks were 27-14 at home this year. Not terrible, but not great. Right? But in the postseason, just in the first round, guys, they lost 2 home games. You lost 2 home games. So let's think about this game 1. Game 1, they needed a 21-0, right? A 21-0 run in the fourth quarter. They needed that to beat them, to beat the Pistons, because they were losing. They were getting beat handedly. They needed a 21-0 run to beat the Pistons in game 1 at home in New York. That's sad, man. Sad. Then in game 2, remember they lost in New York. They lost game 2. And then you had Tom Thibodeau, I did a video on this, crying about foul calls in a game where they got fouls. They got foul calls. He's crying for fouls for Jalen Brunson. I don't respect that, man. Jalen Brunson needs fouls. The dude gets foul calls. But you're crying about Jalen Brunson not getting fouls. These guys are floppers. They're actors out there, man. The Knicks are not winning with Jalen Brunson as the number 1 guy, guys. I hate to tell you that. Like Jalen Brunson, man, he's a good player. Not leading your team a damn place, guys. Like Carmelo Anthony, he ain't leading your team nowhere. That's why I said Patrick Ewing was the last legit superstar New York Knicks legend who could lead a team to a championship. He could do that, Patrick Ewing, in a much tougher conference, in a much tougher version of the NBA. This version of the NBA is a joke, but Jalen Brunson ain't leading your team anyway. But anyway, you had Thibodeau crying in game 2. The Knicks lost game 2. Then in game 3, the New York Knicks were winning 66-53 at the half, guys. They had a 13-point lead going into the half in game 3. And then what happens? Because the New York Knicks are an inconsistent team, like I've been saying all year, the second half comes, the New York Knicks get beaten in the second half 63-52, which made the game a lot closer than it needed to be. This is the New York Knicks, guys. Inconsistent. They play good one quarter, then the next quarter they're terrible. Then they play good one half, the next half they're terrible. And this is what you're seeing in the series. The Knicks have just been giving up leads, not playing consistent defense. I mean, taking bad shots. That was game 3. So the Knicks were up 2-1 after that. And then in game 4, the Knicks in the first quarter, guys, were winning 29-19. They were winning 29-19 in the first quarter. The first quarter. That should have been the end of the game. They should have put their foot on the Detroit Pistons' necks and just continue to pummel them throughout the game. But what happens, guys? The New York Knicks were winning 50-43 at the half. All right? 50-43 at the half. And then they get outscored in the second half, 50-44. So once again, it's a tale of two halves. They end up winning that game by 1 point. Right? It was a close game. All these games have been close. When the Knicks should have blown these guys out. They should have blew them out a lot of these games. Game 5, right? Knicks lose at home. Game 5. Once again, there's 2 home losses they got in the first round to the 6th seed. Then in game 6, which we all know was last night, the Knicks win. And once again, the New York Knicks are going crazy. Why? New York Knicks fans are going crazy because the way the game ended, right? A lot of these games have come down to the last second shots, the last couple of seconds of the game. But why? Because the Knicks are blowing leads. They're beating the Detroit Pistons so many times, and they keep giving up leads. Giving up leads. You're up by 10 points in the first quarter. You give up a lead. You're up by 13 at half. You give up a lead. Like, they just don't build on the leads or hold the leads. They give them up. This is the New York Knicks all season, guys. The Knicks haven't beaten any of the really good teams this year. They're not a good team. I don't know what Knicks fans are celebrating. You got Knicks fans like, yeah, let's go Knicks, man. We're going to do it. This is our year. No, it's not, guys. You guys are not living in reality, man. Like I said, I get it. You want to celebrate and root for your team. I'm rooting for the Knicks, but I told you guys, the Knicks are not winning anything with Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns. Karl-Anthony Towns is one of the most inconsistent players in the postseason I've ever seen. This dude will put up 35 points one night. The next night scored 15. That's Karl-Anthony Towns, man. And that's what he did last night. Nothing last night. Jalen Brunson, once again, having to put up all these shots, all these points, and it comes down to a last-second shot. But why? I was watching the first quarter, guys, and I turned it off after the first quarter because the Knicks were winning 37-24, guys, after the first quarter. No, excuse me, 37-23. After the first quarter, they were by 14. They were destroying them. The game should have been over. But what happens, guys? The second quarter rolls around, and the New York Knicks get outscored 38-22. So they said, okay, we'll see the 37-23 advantage, and we'll raise you a 38-22. Once again, inconsistency from the Knicks. You put up 37 points in the first quarter, then come out and score 22. You give up only 23 points in the first quarter, and then give up 38 in the second quarter. Inconsistent, man. That's a tale of 2 quarters, man. This is the Knicks. Game should have been over in the first quarter. You have them come right back in the second quarter. Then in the third quarter, the Knicks go up 37-24 in that quarter. Then after 3, the Knicks are up 96-85. And then once again, it comes down to a last-second shot because the New York Knicks get outscored 28-20 in the fourth quarter. So once again, inconsistent play from the New York Knicks. One quarter they dominate, the next quarter they get dominated. Next quarter they dominate, the next quarter they get dominated. Where's the consistency? Where's the balance? There is none. They live and die by Jalen Brunson. Live and die by that. Not going to work, guys. You're not going to go anywhere playing this style of basketball, being this inconsistent, losing 2 home games in the first round to a 6 seed. The New York Knicks used to be formidable at home, especially in the postseason, guys. I'm going to read some numbers off to you. Okay, so these are some of the home records for the Knicks in the postseason, guys. 1989, right? They were 4-1 at home in the postseason. 4-1. 1990, they were 3-1 at home in the playoffs. 1991, remember they lost Chicago Bulls first round, 3 games to nothing. They lost their only home game, so they were 0-1 at home to Michael Jordan Chicago Bulls. In 92, they were 4-2 at home. 1993, they were 7-1 at home, guys. 7-1 in 93. Remember, the only home game that they lost, Chicago Bulls, Eastern Conference Finals. 1994, when they went to the NBA Finals, led by Patrick Ewing, they were 11-2 at home on the road, at home in the playoffs, guys. 11-2. All right? Some of their home records, guys. 1992, when Pat Riley took over, the Knicks were 30-11 at home. 30-11. 93, 37-4 at home, guys. 37-4. 94, 32-9. 1995, 29-12. 96, remember this is when Jeff Van Gundy would take over. 26-15, 96. In 1997, they were 31-10 at home. So you see, 98, they were 28-13. So you see some of these home records, and then it translates to the playoffs. What you got from the Knicks is they were 27-14 at home this year, which is not terrible, but it's not great. It was good. It's good. They're a good home team. They were good at home, right? But they were pretty much the same at home as they were on the road. They were 24-17 on the road. So that's what I'm talking about there. They're not really formidable at home. They're just as good at home as they're on the road, which is not really good. You want to be solid on the road, and you want to be formidable at home, right? You want to be tough at home, especially it's Madison Square Garden. They're supposed to have a home court advantage, but they don't really have that. And out of your first 6 games in the postseason, you lost 2 at home. 2 at home. That's not good already. Also, when I tell you guys about the Knicks are not that great of a team this year, that's why I'm not getting overly crazy. I don't know why the Knicks fans are going nuts after a first round win against a 6 seed. Who the Detroit Pistons, man? They're nobody. They're a solid, good young team, right? But they're not no one formidable, right? They didn't beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, like I said, who's the best player on the court? It's Jalen Brunson, right? It wasn't like he beat Giannis's Bucks, right? You didn't beat anyone. To me, the Knicks didn't beat anyone to be celebrating this way. Not just saying the Knicks are celebrating. I'm talking about the Knicks fans. All right, remember, it's about the Knicks fans. You guys look silly out here, man. Come on, man. Once again, let's keep it real here. The Knicks are not that team. Now, during the regular season, the Knicks, to me, didn't beat anybody. They got 51 wins, but the Eastern Conference wasn't great, right? The Philadelphia Sixers were a joke, right? They were a joke. The Chicago Bulls, they tried to come on strong at the end, but they weren't good. The Washington Wizards were a joke. The Charlotte Hornets were a joke. I mean, the New Jersey Nets or the Brooklyn Nets, are a joke. Like, come on, man. Stop. Like I said, there were 2 really good teams in the East, and that was it. That's it. Even Giannis Bucks were terrible this year. He had no help out there. So once again, the Knicks finished 3rd by default. By default. Not because they were so good or because they were that good. They were the 3rd seed by default, guys. So that's why I say they're inconsistent. But they were inconsistent. The East was so bad and so weak and so inconsistent, they were still able to finish the 3rd seed. Still. Over teams like the Miami Heat, the Orlando Magic, right? Some of these other teams. Right? Who cares? So, against some of the better teams in the league this year, guys. So, against OKC Thunder, 0-2. Against the Boston Celtics, 0-4. Against the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Knicks were 0-4. Against the Clippers, they were 0-2. Against the Lakers, they were 0-2. Against the Golden State Warriors, they were 0-2. The only team that the New York Knicks beat without losing that's considered a quality team was the Denver Nuggets. They were 2-0 against the Denver Nuggets. And I think one of those games, Nikola Jokic did not play. But all these other teams I just read off, they couldn't beat any of the good teams. They were beating teams like the Portland Trail Blazers, the Washington Wizards, the Charlotte Hornets, the New Orleans Pelicans. These are the teams the Knicks were beating. They were beating handily, getting all their wins from. I'm not impressed with that. No one's impressed. So anyway, guys, this is no knock on the New York Knicks. I'm not tearing the Knicks down. What I'm saying to you is the Knicks are not that great. And the people, the fans of New York, you guys are getting carried away. Like I said, I'm assuming you guys, things haven't been good in a while, so I get it. You guys weren't around for the 90s, I guess. I don't know what we're celebrating here. It's like in the 2010s when people were celebrating the New York Knicks with Carmelo Anthony and Amari Stoudemire and all these guys. And I'm like, the Knicks are not doing anything. They're not formidable. They're not a legit contender. They're a good team. That was it. They were a good team in a crappy Eastern Conference, man. Going against teams like the Atlanta Hawks and the Toronto Raptors. You weren't going against nobody. Patrick Ewing's Knicks were battling against Charles Barkley, battling against Dominique Wilkins, right? Going against Dr. J. He's going against all these teams in the mid to late 80s, early 90s, Isaiah Thomas Pistons, Michael Jordan's Bulls, right? The Cleveland Cavaliers with Mark Price and Brad Daugherty. Going against the Boston Celtics with Larry Bird, Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale. And then later on, guys like Reggie Lewis. These are New York Knicks were going against that Patrick Ewing was going against. He wasn't going against these weak teams. New York Knicks fans out here going crazy, jumping out the window, man, for a first series round, a first round series win against a 6th seed. If the Knicks were the 6th seed and they beat the Detroit Pistons, then I can see people going crazy and celebrating because that would be an upset victory. That would be something that you can celebrate. But to beat a 6th seed as a 3 seed when you lost 2 games at home, when all these games were closer than they should have been, the Knicks should have blew this team off the court in 4 or 5 games at most. Every game was close because you guys giving up leads, right? Inconsistent. One quarter you look good, the next quarter you look terrible, right? Guys booking up a lot of shots. Karl Anthony Towns, inconsistent. These are the facts, man. You guys know the deal, man. The New York Knicks are an okay team. They're mediocre, guys. They're not good. They're just not. They're not going to beat anyone. You guys know the deal, man. I'll catch you guys on the next one.